Hello and welcome to Adaptations 2. And here's a little preview of what we've got coming up with Pavlov's dog will drool for bells. All right, so we looked at physical adaptations last time, so let's look at some behavioral adaptations for animals. Um, all of our organisms are adapted to life in certain environments, obviously. You have adapted to life in the desert and the serious desert there, or life in a beautiful tropical area. It's not really tropical, it's more deciduous, but more like Seattle or something. Oh well, whatever. All right, so let's look at some behavior. Many animals adapt to changes in their environment through their behavior. Um, think about high school students. Certainly adapt to changes in that. Once you got to high school, you realize that middle school behavior not going to work anymore. So there's an adaptive. Behavior is the way that an organism responds to its environment. So how is it responding to that particular environment? That is its behavior. And all organisms have the ability to respond to their environment. So they can respond. They don't always choose to, but they can. In fact, the ability to respond to the environment is one of the characteristics scientists use to identify something as alive. So when we look at those characteristics of life, response to stimuli is one of those characteristics. A few more things about behavior. Like physical traits, behaviors can be determined by genes and can undergo changes through natural selection. Now, the behaviors, the physical traits can't actually undergo changes, but well, we'll get into more with the genes on that. All right, so the adaptive behaviors are important for survival and reproduction, obviously. Think about it. Again, using the example of in high school. You act like a middle schooler and the upperclassmen are not going to be entirely thrilled with that. And you're going to know about that. So scientists classify animal behavior into two categories. There's innate behavior and there's learned behavior. So let's take a look. An innate behavior is a behavior that an animal doesn't need to learn through experience. Innate, you're born with it. This is the way that you are born. So animals are born with the ability to carry out innate behaviors. For this reason, behaviors are often described as inborn or instinctive. These are some examples that innate behaviors. An insect's ability to fly, it didn't have to learn how to do that. It just can do it. And a bird's ability to build a nest. I mean, who teaches it? I mean, is there like bird nest building classes from Home Depot? Okay, whatever. All right, so types of behavior. Many innate behaviors, such as reflexes, involve quick responses and are advantageous to animals that have short lifespans. So they have to have quick reflexes because they're only living for a very short amount of time. It's unlearned and it's an involuntary response to a particular stimulus. So, if you've been to the doctor and they hit your knee, your body just responds to that. I'm sure you can't see me, but I'm hitting my knee right now. All right. Woo. Okay, how about shivering when you're cold? That's an example. Pulling your hand away from a hot object. That is also a reflex. You didn't have to get taught that. You automatically know how to do that. All right. Excellent examples of innate behavior are, especially for humans, are a sucking reflex. You can see it when the baby is still developing inside of the mother, when they nurse or when they drink from a bottle, sucking their own thumb, sucking a pacifier. They didn't have to be taught. They come out knowing how to do that. It's survival, because if they don't know how to do it, or if they have something damaging like a cleft palate where they're unable to suck, then unless they're in an environment that they can be taken care of like that, then they would just die. Learned behaviors, on the other hand, develop over a period of an animal's lifetime, and it can be they can be trained, or they can watch other animals. They can watch other animals or just experience over time. Many of the learned behaviors require practice, and examples of these include children learning to tie their shoes. Oh boy, I was so glad when my kids learned how to do that. Wolves learning to hunt in packs, and chimpanzees learning to use sticks to remove termites from rotting trees. So those are some examples. So they watch, the babies watch. In fact, when you look at like baby puppies and stuff, and they're biting each other, and the way that they're playing with each other is actually they're practicing. When they're babies, you think, oh, they look so cute, but then when they're adults and you see how they attack each other and hunt other animals and mating rituals. I mean, it all goes back to that. So they're a little playful behavior. They're watching the adults and they're learning how to do it. Same thing with us humans. One day, I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw Jacob bobbing his head to the music, and I thought, how cute! I wonder where he learned how to do that. And at the next light, I saw my head bobbing in the mirror, and I thought, oh, he got it from me. At least that was a good thing he got from me. All right, and there we have the termite. Sometimes you just got to be thankful you're not a chimpanzee. Hey, what's on the menu today? Little termites. Get out your stick. Oh my gosh. Ooh. All right. Types of behavior, again, looking at the learned behaviors, they're commonly seen in complex organisms that have longer lifespans. If you have to learn how to do things, it takes a while. If you have a lifespan of 2 weeks, how much can you learn in that amount of time? But fish, reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, those that are more complex, but you're not going to see it in insects and things like that because they're not really, they're not alive very long. Okay, some behavioral adaptations. Here you have zebras. They travel in herds to search for food. Obviously, if one gets separated, it's alone and vulnerable. And so they learn to travel in herds because it doesn't take much for them to see that if they get separated, it's all over. Black and brown bears, this whole period of dormancy, this hibernation period, where part of it is innate. They know how to, their bodies just naturally would go into this, but it is a behavioral adaptation for them. Migration, the manatees during seasonal changes will migrate, not just manatees, whales, dolphins, all different kinds of animals, birds, geese. They will travel to a place where it's warmer during the colder months, or they'll travel to spawning places. Red-winged blackbirds and other small birds, they are territorial, and they will establish some sort of pattern to prevent others. So they'll dive bomb them, or some birds like blue jays, they are so vicious. They're really vicious birds. They're beautiful to look at, but whew, they are vicious. All right, and some behavioral adaptations. Some more, you have your gorillas and your primates, and they have very involved courtship rituals that have sound and visual display. They'll release chemicals, and so this competition for a mate, pretty strong, not just with the gorillas and apes. All right, so let's look at the migration. It is common. It's changing locations periodically. They move from one place to another, and usually to find food or shelter during periods when the resources are scarce. So when you have harsh winters or you have really dry seasons, so whenever the time of year is going to be difficult, they'll move to a place where they can survive. So each fall, a bird called the blackpoll warbler migrates from Alaska to the northern part of South America. Can you imagine? Okay, get ready, pack your things. We're going on a really big trip. And then in the spring, when temperatures in the north grow warmer, food becomes available again, and whoop, back up to Alaska. Wow, they got to be in some great shape. Here is some the migration map, so you can see where they go. This is where they breed up here. This is where they winter in spring, and in spring they're here, and then in the fall they go down here, and whew, what a life. All right, So funny. Right now, as we speak, I am watching some behavioral patterns. There is a dog that has wandered into my into my yard. My dog is taking the protective stance. Both tails are wagging. I think they're going to play. Huh, it's not so bad. Oh yeah, in fact, they are playing. All right. Well, there you go. All right. So I digressed. Okay, so many mammals, such as the wildebeest of the Serengeti, they also make annual migrations, um, and they will oftentimes travel in great numbers. Oh, it's just fascinating to watch them how they move like that. There they are. Oh my goodness, just whoa. Elephant seals migrate between the coast of California and remote islands. They travel, okay, 12,427 miles each year. That's a lot. That is a lot of miles. I mean, I do triple that in my car, but I'm pressing the gas pedal. I'm not flapping my tail to move. Whew. All right, there's the old elephant seal. Oh, look how cute. I wonder if it has bad breath. Okay, well, probably. All right, so there's even insects that migrate. You have your monarch butterflies, and they will migrate. They have quite the migration. And if you ever have a chance to see them, it is unbelievably stunning to watch it. All right. I think we're going to stop there. I think we'll pick up hibernation. We'll stop with migration for today, and we'll start with hibernation next time. And for now, peace out. Have a great night. Wear your seatbelt.